From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. For a lot of veterans, Independence Day can be a hard day. Celebrating America's birthday comes with loud, colorful blasts of fireworks. We don't talk about it a lot, but for vets with PTSD, that can be a struggle. It can remind people of combat or other traumatic experiences from their time in the military. Helping veterans with PTSD cope is the specialty of our guest today. Dr. Mandy Rabenhorst-Bell is the PTSD program manager with the VA healthcare system serving Eastern Colorado. She's based in Aurora. And she's here today to give a glimpse at what the 4th of July can be like for those with PTSD and how friends and family can help support them. Mandy, welcome to the show.
Erin, thanks for having me.
Mandy, how did you get started working with veterans coping with PTSD and trauma?
I have long been interested in kind of how people develop coping skills and how we learn to move through life. And early in my graduate school training, got interested in the impact of trauma and negative life experiences. And that led me to working with veterans during my internship. And I was really blown away by the resilience and the courage and the hard work of veterans who've been through some of the worst experiences that life has to offer, and their willingness to move toward those experiences in order to engage in a more meaningful life with the people they love.
I imagine July 4th is a bittersweet day for many veterans with PTSD. They probably loved the 4th of July as a kid. They take a great deal of pride in their service, but they can't actually enjoy all aspects of that day. Do you meet a lot of veterans with stories like that?
We do. And in the treatment that we offer, we often have veterans who describe regretfully dreading this time of year, and that although they love the celebration and maybe used to find this a very joyful time of year, now don't, and find that they no longer kind of approach it with the same sense of joy and wonder as they once did. And sometimes that can look like avoiding gatherings, avoiding fireworks displays, not wanting to be around the loud, the crowds of people, the loud noises, the sights and smells of fireworks.
It must be really painful for them.
I think so. And it's not unusual for people to maybe to look at themselves and feel like there's something wrong with them, or that they're broken, or maybe they're weak, when really it's their brain is responding in a particular way to those danger cues that are happening in the midst of a fireworks celebration.
Give us a quick overview. You just kind of brought that up. What happens to the body and to the brain when someone with PTSD experiences a trigger? In this case, they're a combat veteran, let's say, and they hear a loud firework.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that all of us have our brain has a well-built and very effective threat response system. So one part of our nervous system that's designed to activate in response to threat. Many of us might be familiar with the fight or flight system. And so, for instance, when we hear a loud noise, our nervous system can respond quickly to help us either be ready to fight by moving aggressively toward a threat with the goal of eliminating it, or to flee. And when the system's working as designed, we also maintain the ability to kind of check in and see if that threat, that potential threat, is a real threat, and to be able to tell our nervous system, like, hey, it's okay. That loud noise was a firework, or it was the wind blowing the door shut, something like that. That allows us then to engage the down-regulating part of our nervous system that helps us kind of get back to baseline.
How do you recommend someone with trauma prepare themselves for a day like Independence Day?
I think there are a number of things that folks can do. One is to do your best to continue to engage your thinking brain, right? So one of the ways we can do that is through kind of attending to our surroundings, kind of paying attention, reminding ourselves, I'm not in danger, I'm okay. The second thing is to avoid overusing substances. I know sometimes celebrations like the 4th of July, people are likely to maybe
indulge a bit.
Sometimes indulging in an extra way or overusing substances, even in an attempt to numb or to try to downregulate, can have the effect of also numbing the thinking part of our brain that helps us evaluate threat in a more effective and accurate kind of way.
And don't assume veterans are fragile, right?
Right. Yeah, I think, veterans are a diverse group of people. And so not everyone who's experienced trauma has levels of symptoms of PTSD that are as impactful. Some folks do, but not everyone does. And I think even folks who have PTSD uh, do also have an incredible amount of resilience and strength as well. And so not assuming that folks need to be protected or babied or can't cope as well. And oftentimes there's a great deal of strength and resilience.
So I have seen a lot of posts on Nextdoor and social media around the 4th of July asking people to think of pets, think of the dogs before they shoot off fireworks all night. I really don't see veterans or people who experience trauma mentioned as often. What do you make of that?
I wonder if it's easier to talk about pets than it is to sort of talk about people. I wonder. I think there is sometimes in our efforts to be compassionate or to be thoughtful, we also end up avoiding talking about difficult or painful topics, and so that happens when we're talking about suicide prevention. It happens in the context of grief. And I think it sometimes happens in the context of trauma and really knowing what's okay to talk about and what's not okay to talk about. I think it is really important to acknowledge that folks who've experienced trauma might have diverse reactions to things like fireworks displays, to unpredictable, loud events, and to have compassion for the challenges that someone else in your neighborhood might be experiencing.
I wonder if you could leave us with a story about a vet who struggled with Independence Day and maybe got to a better place.
Yeah, we have the opportunity. We really have the privilege to, in the programs that we're doing within VA. We've had veterans come through the program who identified wanting to be able to enjoy the 4th of July activities with their family as a meaningful activity for them, that would be a thing that they would like to do, to take their kids to the fireworks show. So that became a focus of treatment, talking about what are the barriers, what's getting in the way, and how do we help you evaluate this situation, develop the coping skills to be able to manage the hyperarousal that's happening, so that's an activity that they could engage in. And we've had veterans then have that experience and come back and tell us about it. And one of the things that stood out to me was the experience of, I was anxious, I didn't want to go, and I did it. And it was meaningful and I felt connected. And I think that's the important part, is that through treatment, it's not as though someone stopped feeling anxious or stopped feeling uncomfortable, but they were able to approach that behavior, kind of engage in that meaningful activity in a way that allowed them to be present with their family, with their loved ones, in spite of the anxiety that they felt. And I think that knowing that recovery is possible, that returning people to the experience of a full and vibrant life is what treatment's all about.
Dr. Mandy Rabenhorst is with the VA serving Eastern Colorado. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll put more tips for helping folks with PTSD in the show notes. That's it for us today on In the NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening. Have a safe and happy 4th of July.